Yo guys, what is up? This is Harry Talks Movies and TV, and this is my full spoiler review for the entire Loki series. Now before we get started, I just want to say that I'm going to be doing this review episode by episode, so in different segments. There'll be six segments. Every segment will be a different episode, and I'll just be giving my overall thoughts on the episode and how it fits into the story as a whole. Now, starting off with episode 1 of Loki, I just want to say real quick that I really enjoyed this episode. I thought this episode was really good, and it was a great introduction to the whole operation. I do feel like it was pretty exposition heavy though, which, it can be a good thing, trying to, explain everything. I guess first episodes sort of have to be exposition heavy, but, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just something I took a note on. It's quite exposition heavy, which is, not necessarily a bad thing. This episode gave us a great introduction to the character of Mobius, played by Owen Wilson, and that character has been a highlight of the whole series. I just want to say, he's been so great, and it's been so fun to watch him and Tom Hiddleston on screen. It's just been a really good dynamic that they've had, and this episode's had a great introduction to Mobius, he was a great character, so that's good. It also gave a good introduction and sort of exploration of the TVA and what the TVA is, and everything they do, what their purpose is. Again, very exposition heavy, but that's what you need in the first episode. It gave us sort of a feel of what the show's going to be like, how it's very different from Marvel. Like, I understand WandaVision was different and stuff like that, but this was different in a new way, different in another way, which was good, which was refreshing to have new and interesting concepts and things introduced into the Marvel universe, because that's what Phase 4 is. It's everything's going to be different and weird, and this first episode was very different from Marvel. In the first episode, we really caught Loki up to where he was in Ragnarok, sort of like that redeemed person from where he was in, for example, 2012 in Avengers, where he was sort of that evil, which is where he starts off in 2012, picked up the Tesseract and went to Mongolia, where he's picked up by the TVA. So, him watching his mother's death and his death and his bond with Thor was really great, because it caught him up to where he was in Ragnarok, which was good, because that's the character that we liked, that's the character that we wanted in this series. Now there's one scene in this episode that I really love, which is where Loki opens up the paper drawer looking for the Tesseract, and he sees these Infinity Stones, and he just ponders on, wow, this TVA really is, this organization really is like the greatest power in the universe. But obviously, you find out later in the series, but anyway, and he really ponders seeing these, what he considers to be the most powerful things in the universe, just sitting in a drawer, and these people use them as paperweights. And he stands up and he looks around, and this awesome music plays. Oh, I just want to mention the score of this whole show was composed by Natalie Holt, and she did an amazing job. I really love the score for this show. But yeah, as I was saying, the Infinity Stone scene was just great to see him really ponder what is what he thinks is important, and he needs to come to a realization that he is nothing compared to the whole operation. But yes, on a whole, I really enjoyed the first episode. It really got me excited for the rest of the series, and it really got me hyped, and I really loved this episode. So this episode was really great. Episode 2 of Loki, I just want to say I loved this one even more than I loved the first one. This episode was so great. We had Loki working with the TVA to find a variant of himself. There's great banter between Mobius and Loki. I thought their banter, the whole episode was really great. It was really fun to see them interact on screen, especially in this episode. We noticed there was sort of a bigger mystery being set up with the timekeepers, how Loki kept asking to speak to them and see them, and Mobius be like, no, we can't, and then Ravonna saying things like, the timekeepers are watching this very closely and acting really suspicious, and bigger mystery being set up with timekeepers, and that was really interesting. And we get this really awesome conversation between Loki and Mobius about like what they believe, and how Loki is like, it's real because I believe it's real, and Loki's criticizing that, and then Mobius sort of criticizes him back, being like he's a frost giant from, you know, big space realm, whatever. And, you know, that's a really cool conversation between them two. I think that worked really well in the episode. And then Loki and Mobius find out about the variant hiding in apocalypses, and so they go to Pompeii and have this really awesome sort of sequence where Loki's demonstrating how, you know, it doesn't matter because everyone's going to die anyway, so it won't cause a branch reality if they do anything. And that was just really awesome. It was just a cool scene, you know. It was fun to go back to Pompeii and see this kind of stuff happen. And then the volcano explodes behind them, and, you know, they leave and they figure out that the variant's been hiding in apocalypses. So they figure out what apocalypse they're hiding in. So they go to Roxcart, which is, I believe, in the 2050 or something like that. And it was really cool to have sort of a look into the future, like Marvel's future and like what's to come. But obviously that's just one alternate future. But yeah, that was just really cool with all the flood. And so they go inside, they look for the variant, and it's a really cool fight scene with sort of Loki, you know, the variants transferring their consciousness into other people, and Loki's, you know, sort of having a conversation with them and fighting them. And that's I think that's the strongest part of the episode, is where Loki's fighting all these different people who have the variant's consciousness. I think that's a really awesome sort of idea and really cool fight scene that was like the highlight of the episode for me. And then eventually the variant comes out and she removes her hood, and it is Lady Loki, and she says, "This isn't about you." And then she goes into a portal, and Loki follows her into the portal, and then she bombs the timeline with all these reset charges that she's been collecting in the previous episodes and when she's killed all these other timekeepers. And then we end on an awesome cliffhanger that just got me a lot more excited for the next episode, which got me. I love this episode so much. This is probably one of my favourite episodes, if not the favourite. I think, actually, I'll take that back. This is my second favourite episode. You'll find out what my favourite episode is later in the video. But yeah, I really love this episode, and it got me so excited for the upcoming episodes and what was to come in the rest of the series. So, great episode. Loved it. Episode 3. Kind of mixed feelings about this one. I did not like it as much as I liked the other two. Unfortunately, I wish I did, but I just didn't like it. And you know, it moved kind of slow and was kind of hard to, you know, stay focused on what's happening, because not a lot happened, and, you know, not a lot of exposition, or not hardly any exposition. Only one bit of exposition, which was that the TVA are all variants, which, you know, it's cool, but it's only one bit of information in, you know, when you only have a 6-episode series, it's important to have, you know, a lot of story in, like, each episode. So that way you can stay, you know, focused on the episode and focused on the whole story. I just want to say Sylvie was a fun character, though. Although I couldn't really get into her as much as I was into, you know, the other characters like Mobius and B-15 and or even Ravonna. I just couldn't really get into her, but she was a fun character. She was a fun addition, which was, you know, it's always good. Although a really major downfall for this episode was that there was no Mobius in this episode at all, which was, you know, kind of disappointing, because he's like one of my favourite characters other than Loki on the show. So that's like really disappointing that we didn't really get any Mobius at all. He was not in this episode one little bit, which was disappointing. You do get the sense that there's sort of a romance forming between Sylvie and Loki, which is, you know, it's gross when you think about it, but, like, you know, the more you think about it, you think, you know, it just shows how much of a narcissist Loki is. The only person he can fall in love with is himself, which is, you know, it's gross, but it's the character of Loki and it makes sense. So, you know, I'm willing to look past it. This episode ended on another cliffhanger, but this cliffhanger didn't get me as excited for the next episode as the other ones did. And the episode hardly moved the story forward at all. So again, it's enjoyable. It's not, I wouldn't say it's enjoyable, but it's you know, it's fun. It's fine to watch. it wasn't like hard to get through it. It was just, it's not very good. It wasn't a very good episode. So those are my thoughts on that episode. Episode 4, also entitled The Nexus Event. This was my favourite episode out of the entire series. It had everything. It had backstory on Sylvie. It had a lot of exposition, which is what we needed. It made Sylvie more likeable. It was just a great episode. It had so much exposition and so many like sort of twists and things we didn't see coming. A lot of things in this episode were so awesome. Like, we got Loki getting trapped in the time loop with Sif, who we haven't seen since Dark World, which was awesome. I think she showed up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I didn't watch that. And just seeing Sif again, like with her hair torn out, and there's this endless time loop of her coming out and telling him how he's always going to be alone, and sort of punching him in the face and kneeing him. It was just really awesome to see Sif again, and really awesome to have that fun little time loop. Renslayer was acting really suspicious in this episode, which just built up more of the mystery of what's going on with the Timekeepers. And she also, Mobius found out that she killed C20. Like, a lot of things happened in this episode. It was so awesome. This episode just built up to like, to everything. This episode was just so great. Sylvie was more, I already said Sylvie was more likable in this episode. Sylvie gave B15 her memories back, which was, B15 was acting real curious, so she asked Sylvie, because I forgot to explain. Sylvie and Loki get back to the TVA. The TVA come and take them from the apocalypse. They find them and take them back, and then they're in prison and stuff. But anyway, B15's getting more curious, and Sylvie gives her memories back, and that was a really great scene. Seeing B15 and Sylvie out in the rain, with Sylvie showing her the memories. She was like, I looked happy, and it was just a really awesome scene. Really cool. And Mobius and Loki built up their relationship even more in this episode. They have the best relationship in the entire MCU. I'm just going to say it. Their like dynamic and friendship is just so cool and so back and forth, bantery. Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston like pair up so well in this series. It's such a great match for each other, and it's just really great to see them go back and forth with each other. So many twists in this episode. Mobius gets pruned, which I gasped when I saw that. I did not expect that at all. I expected him to knock him out and put him in prison or something when he takes the temp pad from Renslayer and she finds out. But they prune him. I was shocked, man. I fucking gasped. It was just awesome. But it was awesome because it got me thinking about the episode for so long. And Renslayer takes Loki and Sylvie to face the Timekeepers. And the Timekeepers, they're these big menacing looking things, and at first you're like, oh wow, they're real, because a lot of speculation was that they're not real. And they talk, and they're really cliche though, with this big Wizard of Oz man behind the curtain sort of thing, with the the way they talk and the big authority figures, and that kind of stuff was cool to see. And it turns out that they were fucking androids after Sylvie decapitates one of them. There's a bit of a messy fight scene after that. The fight scenes in the show haven't been great, but that's not why I watch the show. I mean, it's a part of why I watch it. But anyway, it turns out that the Timekeepers are androids after Loki decapitates one of them, and it's like, what the fuck? I did not expect it, man. After I already saw them, I was like, okay, they're real, but no, they're not. And then, so after the fight scene, they've knocked everyone out, and Loki's about to confess his love to Sylvie. It's kind of gross, but it is what it is. And then Loki gets fucking pruned. I mean, after that, I was kind of like, okay, they're not dead. But still, man, just seeing that, it was shocking. It kind of reminded me of what happened in Vision and WandaVision at the end. But yeah, amazing cliffhanger. This episode was so great. My favourite episode of the entire series. It was so good. Episode 5 of Loki is a little disappointing. Now, I like it a lot better than I like episode 3, but it's, not all too much happened other than some cool Easter eggs and cool moments, but still, those cool moments, I loved them. We had those Loki rants. We had boastful Loki, we had kid Loki, we had classic Loki. They're in the void. Loki wakes up in his place after he's been pruned. It's called the Void. It's where people go after they get pruned. It's sort of a place at the end of time. Easter eggs everywhere. We saw Frog Thor. We saw Mjolnir. We saw Thanos copter, we saw Ronan's ship, we saw Yellow Jacket's helmet, we saw the head of the Living Tribunal, which is awesome because that's like a judge from the comics who's just, you know, like, it's just so awesome. And there's just so much cool stuff in that episode. Sylvie's with Ravonna, Sylvie prunes herself, Loki talks to other Lokis, who, by the way, classic Loki is played by Richard E. Grant. That is awesome. We knew he was going to be in this series, but we didn't know when. I was expecting him to be like the main villain or something, but he wasn't. And he was like the Loki that died in Infinity War if he lived, which was awesome. And it's just, they were so good. Boastful Loki was so good. Kid Loki was great. There's this big cloud monster, Goliath. Loki wants to kill Goliath. Then he leaves the place where they're all talking and he finds President Loki. And Boastful Loki's betrayed them, and President Loki wants to like rule the whole place. It's really cool seeing all these different variants. Crocodile Loki, I forgot to mention, there's a Crocodile Loki, which is hilarious, man. That's awesome. I thought it was great. President Loki comes down, confronts all the Lokis. He wants to like, you know, kill all of them and stuff. There's a cool duplication fight, the classic Loki sort of casts all his duplications. It's a cool fight like that. They leave. Mobius picks up Sylvie because Mobius has also been pruned, and they go and find Loki. Loki and Sylvie's relationship becomes closer and stronger, which, you know, don't really like, but it is what it is. They need to have romance in these shows. You know, they have to enchant Goliath to find the man behind the TVA. Classic Loki does an awesome, huge illusion of Asgard. I mean, there's an awesome moment. Probably my favourite moment from the entire show, even though this was not my favourite episode. I did have some issues with the episode. I'll get into them after. There's an awesome moment. He dies, man. It's so cool. Like, he casts a huge illusion of Asgard to distract Goliath while Loki and Sylvie go to enchant it so they can get to the man behind the TVA, because they find out that Goliath is just like a guard dog of some kind. Ends on an awesome cliffhanger, but it's just so frustrating, these cliffhangers, man. But yeah, this episode wasn't really my favourite though, even though I've just talked about all these cool things. It's not much happened, like not much to progress the story. Yep, they're in the void, they enchant something to find out who the man is behind the TVA. That's it really, but it's a cool episode. It's not my favourite. I was a little disappointed at some points, you know, it didn't live up to expectations because we didn't find out who the real villain is yet, which was kind of frustrating, but you know, it is what it is. I enjoyed this episode a lot more than I enjoyed episode 3, but not as much as I enjoyed episode 1, 2 and 4. It was a good episode, just not the best. Episode 6 of Loki, the series finale. This episode was, I have mixed feelings about it. It opens up with, you know, a Marvel logo with all past quotes, which is really cool, really interesting. Loki and Sylvie into the castle. There's a cool Miss Minutes jump scare, and we get the reveal of who's behind the TVA, and it is Kang the Conqueror, aka played by Jonathan Majors. Kang is sort of this. I might make a separate video on who Kang is. I don't know. Kang is sort of this time traveler from, you know, different realities and stuff like that. He's really prominent in the comics, but anyway, people have been suspecting that it's Kang, and Kang is also set to appear in MN3, and we already knew he was being played by Jonathan Majors, who starred in Lovecraft Country. So, you know, they find Kang, which I was shocked at. I had no idea. I like gasped, man. I had like a big smile on my face the whole time he was on screen, because Jonathan Majors' performance as Kang was so great. Like, he gave sort of this, you know, Joker-ish vibe to it. He was wearing this, you know, purple and green, which maybe, you know, sort of alluded to it. Those are his colours in the comics. But he sort of gave this Joker vibe, which was really cool and really, like, awesome to see. Especially from Jonathan Majors, because I only ever see him play, like, serious roles. So Kang explains the reason for making the TVA, which is a big jumbo mess. You might have to find another video for this, because I did not know how to explain it. It was sort of explained kind of confusingly, but so was everything in this show. It was kind of confusing, but it's, you know, he explained everything about the TVA. I did have a bit of a gripe with this episode because there was not much action. You know, Sylvie and Loki fought a bit, which was cool, but not much action. Sylvie and Loki argued about whether they believe him or not with the TVA, because he's like, if you kill me, there'll be a million different versions of me that are way worse, or you could take over my position as, you know, ruler of time and stuff like that. And, you know, of course, Loki and Sylvie are arguing about that, and then they kiss. You know, Loki says some sentimental things, they kiss. and then Loki gets pushed back into the TVA by Sylvie. This episode felt like it went really fast. The way I'm explaining it sounds like it was like two minutes, but it was quite long, but it felt like it went really fast. Loki gets pushed back into the TVA. Sylvie kills Kang. I know I haven't been going in depth with this, but I'm sort of running out of time here. Sylvie kills Kang, and Kang's like, I'll see you soon. Because, you know, a million different versions of him. Loki goes to find Mobius back in the TVA, because Mobius left back to the TVA in the previous episode. But he finds Mobius, he tells him all about it, all about what happened with Kang, what he's explaining and all that kind of stuff. And Mobius doesn't remember. And Mobius is like, wait, who are you? Tell me your name. And Loki's like, what's going on, what's going on? And then he looks at the statue where the Timekeepers used to be, and it's a big statue of Kang in his awesome comic outfit with the, you know, it's got no collars, but it's got the sort of the collar and the belt. It's just really sick and really awesome. And we get season 2 confirmed at the end credits as like Loki returning in season 2, which is awesome because I love this show and I'm so excited for another season. I didn't really love this episode. I thought it was a good episode. I liked it. It was a good episode. Not a good finale. I think the other 2 finales for the previous Marvel shows were better. Actually, no, I think this was better than Falcon and Winter Soldier's finale. I didn't really like that show that much. But I feel like WandaVision's finale was better than this. But this was still good. Yeah, so my thoughts on this episode. I liked it. This finale, I liked it. I wasn't all that impressed with it, but I was impressed by Kang and his awesome performance and his awesome explanation of the timeline and stuff. And the timeline finally broke after Kang sort of died. And the timeline broke, and we're now in the multiverse, which is awesome. I'm so excited. This will continue in season 2. This will continue in Spider-Man. This will continue in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I'm so excited. This has been such a good show. Overall thoughts on this show altogether. I really liked this show. I don't know if I quite loved it. There were episodes that I loved. But there were 3 episodes that I didn't love. And you know, 3 episodes I loved, 3 that I didn't. I liked 2 of them, and I didn't like 1 of them. So overall thoughts of this show. The show has been an awesome wild ride. It's been so fun to watch it every week and, you know, speculate and theorize with everyone online and everyone on the internet and everyone on YouTube. It's been so fun. I've really enjoyed watching this show. I think it's great. I think it's well made. I think everyone's performances are on point, especially Tom Hiddleston's performance. He is so great as Loki, and I'm so excited for season 2. This show's been great. I've really enjoyed it. So overall, my ranking for this show, I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. Simply because there were some episodes I didn't like, but there were also episodes that I loved. So yeah guys, that's my full series review for the entire Loki series. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts on the Loki series down in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.